Good morning and welcome back to Tournament Tuesday. And we have updates from all of the regions. And I am Barnzy, as usual, joined by internet personality and the brains of this operation, and soon to be a spokesperson for, I don't know, Noom.
Just anything in general. I like talking.
Beef Stew, how are you this morning?
I don't know. I can't decide whether I feel like good in that I managed to snag that check. I was talking to a few guys last night. It's like, if you look at the bigger picture, a $1,400 check is always nice. It's just a little bit not nice when you know there was a $250,000 check. Or even a $10,000 check just for making the top four in our thing. So, yeah, right now probably a little salty and trying to figure out what I need to do to get better at those points. But at the same time, I felt it felt good to be able to put on a nice last 6 games to get back up there. I shot about 220 over my last 6 to get a check. So that definitely is it, and I'm trying to look at it that way. And what do they say? You've got to enjoy the journey, not necessarily just the destination. So and all the rest of that bullshit that motivational speakers talk about. So that's my kind of ride in emotion. I don't 100% know, thinking back on it, exactly what I would have done differently. Because I feel like I was punished for having a poor skill set with the urethane ball. So the first block, I started with it and I bowled a really bad first game. Then I figured out what to do and bowled okay. The second game.
Yeah.
The second block, I didn't use it to start with. And then we kind of got a crappy cross where we finished that block. Then the next block, because I'd not had that much success with the urethane, I didn't use it and I shot 170 the first game. And I absolutely should have been using the urethane because once I got back into it, I bowled 3 or 4 pretty good games after that. But again, we went down to the low end, and that was challenging to say the least. I think is the best way to describe it. So, all told, I still had the same issues I've been having, that I wasn't very good on the fresh. I had one block. I started with 250. The other ones, I think I had 2 180s and a 170, and that makes the blocks way more difficult because you suddenly chase in straight away. When you get behind the 8 ball, there isn't really that many spots to go, So yeah. That would be a small summation of my weekend and the thoughts that have been going through my mind over it.
A lot of work to bring you. Well, not even, because it was a $1,600 check. Do you make $1,600? $2,000?
I got $1,400 back.
$1,400, and the entry's 5, and it's a drivable, and his accommodations were cheap, but they didn't cost him much, so it worked out okay for him.
Yeah. No, it was nice. The lady of the house was very pleasant.
Yeah.
Couldn't say much about the guy, but
fair enough.
If you had the truck there, would you have drilled anything? I did drill something, and it did help a little bit, but it wasn't on the PBA truck. And no, I think that I would have probably finished further behind some of the younger guys who maybe use the ball reps a little bit more than I do. So, but I think I could have drilled a ball for every game of the tournament, and I couldn't have got within 300 of Frankie. He was on a different planet. And yeah, I mean, what was 4th place? Maybe 650 over, something like that. Maybe it was 680, something like that. So That's how many Frankie was ahead of the next righty. We even managed, me and you even managed to try and derail him a little bit, taking him for lunch and having to weave through gas stations and do handbrake U-turns to get round an accident and then run into the bowling center 5 minutes before the squad was supposed to start. What a debacle that was before the last.
Went to a little sports bar. Everybody decided to go to the same place. It's the place Dino recommended, and the food was fine, but it took an hour and 15 minutes to get it. So it put a little cramp in the schedule. Frankie handled it very well, though. Obviously, came out and while he was locked into the show, he was in a battle with the two left-handers for that top spot, and those are expensive spots potentially.
Yeah, it's more a case of only having to win the one game to get to the 50 grand. The prize fund, like Frankie was talking about, is very compacted. I think it's like 10, 11, 12, 14 or something like that for those 4 spots that don't make the big show.
Right.
Having to win that one match is huge. So yeah, what the other that was the fun part about that block though. So Frankie had his swagger on like he should, the way he was bowling. He comes to me and he goes, didn't start this block great. And I go, what? He goes, I got 6 the first frame. And I go, really? He goes, yeah, after both shots. He said, I had the 4 count split, and then I took the 6-10 out of it. And I said to him, oh, okay. So I'm packing my stuff, and I'm a bit all up in my feelings because I just shot 180 again. I'm like, you're such an asshole. Why are you doing this, right? So then I just stroll back, and I go, what did you end up shooting, Frank? And he goes, 230.
Yeah.
He scored 40 more than me in 9 frames.
Plus 200 was last check everywhere but the South at plus 12. Well, it was not plus 200 in our region. It was plus 450. Yeah. And
quite amusingly, it was I think I was 457, Dino was 456, and Lavery was 454. And we bowled right next to each other the whole time. Me and Dino actually bowled 4 blocks. Anthony only decided to bowl the 3. I didn't realize quite how bad it was for him because it was weird because he was next to me, but on Bear, I guess I read his social media, he shot 80 under on Bear.
Yeah, 77 under.
So that was a little odd because, like I say, he bowled pretty good when I was watching him most of the time, but like me and him both had a pretty nice block on Shark. So let's quickly go out to the West.
One quick question. Softest inserts out there right now?
I would say Turbo's quads. Just regular quads. I think they're softer than the Vice ones. I don't think the Vice have multiple different.
Their clear ones. Their clear ones are softer than the regular ones by probably 10 points or so. That's the softest Vice ones. I can't count. Yeah, I don't know about Turbo.
I mean, that might be the case with Turbo as well. I only ever use. I tried to find the hardest grips. So
yeah, we go the other way, so they hold up longer and tear up your hands less.
They are. A friend of mine, Brian, he bowled this weekend, said clear Vice are soft.
Yeah.
Out in the West, couple of lefties made it. Belmo didn't even cash. That was quite the shock. I saw some social media posts that have been dying. They looked just the same as they do when Tom Brady, loses a game of football. Oh my God, he sucks. You're telling me this guy's the GOAT? Yes, Rick Hamlin, you're an idiot. Like, I like you, Rick. Most ridiculous post I've ever seen.
That's what he said?
He said that, how can you say that Belmo's the GOAT when he can't even cash? All right, because Earl Anthony never didn't cash in his life.
That literally might be the dumbest thing that somebody who actually knows something about bowling said. But 2 days. The fact that it's news that he didn't tells you what you need to know.
Yeah. And it's almost news that he didn't make the top 5, not that he didn't cash.
Right. That's the bigger news.
Yeah. So we were just doing a quick thing before the show. What did you work it out that Belmo's average cash for his career was?
I wrote it down, and for comparison, I put mine down because at one point it was pretty good. It's gone down slightly over the last 3 or 4 years, but I'm at $5,478 per event.
It's quite a lot.
We had a pretty good run. I bowled when we bowled for, I had a good run when we bowled for 100 grand and 40 grand a lot too. So Belmo by comparison, 9,300 an event. It's not bad.
Especially considering, well, like we were saying, it's not necessarily he bowls them all, but we have plenty of events that only pay 10,000.
Yeah. Well, and now, he kind of picks and chooses, but the World Series things, he has most of his non-major titles are in those, and those don't really pay all that great. They're really a side prize fund for the World Series. So, yeah.
Craig says Belmo came back. He missed by miles in the end.
He ended up missing by 200, so it wasn't.
He actually did catch up quite a bit, but then he was bad on Shark. Like he was in the top 8, I would say, going into Shark, and then he ended up not cashing. So, I just think, it wasn't the best scenario for him. It was nice to see Wesley Lowe make it, as nice as it can be for a lefty to make it, I guess.
I was glad he made it in a different region.
Well, why did you care?
Well, fair enough.
Sorry, low blow. Slightly. The Central might have been the only region that didn't have a lefty make it. I'm not 100% sure. Maybe the East as well. I think I'm talking out my ass. I don't think the East made one either.
I think the East, they had guys up there early too that did not end up there. The second day didn't go well for those sides. But Central, the gutter doesn't play very well. I don't think on either side particularly well. And so the long patterns iced a few guys for sure.
Yeah, we didn't have that problem. One ball pack, he said, man, I had to get the furthest right I could get. And he was at 10. He brought about 25 balls with him and used 1. 1.
Well, there's a quick rundown. Before we bring our guest in, we are going to run our sponsor commercial for just a second, and we'll come in with our guest for today.
Mark Baker here. Are you struggling with your game? Do you need another set of eyes? Is there that one thing in your game you just can't fix? Please let me help you. Go to markbakerbowling.com, click on virtual lessons, and follow the 3 easy steps. Remember, you can live anywhere in the world, and with virtual lessons, I can help you. Look forward to seeing your videos. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark, for being a sponsor of the show. Like you said, you can go to markbakerbowling.com and sign up for virtual lessons. I've used them for Ryan as well as myself, and obviously not enough. So I will be doing it more in the near future.
And if you would like to have your business featured on the Beef and Barnzy, send us a Facebook message in the group, or you can send me an email, beefandbarnzy@gmail.com, and we can set something up for you.
That being said, speaking of personalities, we have a good one today. And he had a pretty good weekend. This gentleman has 4 national titles, 10 regional titles. He has bowled on tour since 2003, which seems like an awfully long time. He's been out there most of the time I've been out there. He's been on a few different staffs. This was a big weekend, and this is a good weekend to come back. He just switched back to Storm, and joining us now from the Indianapolis area, Ronnie Russell.
What's up, fellas? Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Good. All right.
Supporting your own brand apparel there, Ronnie?
Well, I actually wore this moving last night, and sitting beside my bed, so it went back on.
No, it's okay. You can give it a plug. Where can we buy one?
Sure. It's on a website on my Instagram page, so I couldn't even tell you what the name of the site is. There's too many little tags in there. Yeah, I have no clue. So go to my Instagram, you can find it. R2 Bowling.
There you go.
R2 Bowling. All right.
Ronnie digging in to try and sell his hoodies there. Your wife, Michelle, has got a head in her hands right now. Like, oh, my God.
Yeah, I literally have no clue what's going on when it comes to all this kind of stuff. That's all. Yeah. I hate myself more than Stu hates himself sometimes. So why would I promote myself?
How's the hand going? That's what someone says.
The what? The hand?
Yeah.
Blood blister. Where's it at? So I changed my hand span, and this is the first time in probably 10 years that I felt my ball come off my fingers instead of my thumb at release. So I got quite a bit of burning going on this weekend, so it was pretty good.
Catching a fingernail in it?
Oh, well, with throwing urethane on 3 of the patterns for most of them, yeah, I was catching about everything I could in them.
So give us a quick rundown, because I think it's going to be kind of interesting. We can kind of just exchange notes on here, sort of thing. What did you use on Viper?
I used urethane the whole time.
So you used urethane 7.
Yeah, the track was really, really, really burnt up. And once you got left of it, there was not enough friction really until game 5, maybe 6, to just throw it as hard as you want to the right. But we just saw a lot of friction in the middle of the lane there in that building because the track took so much. So that's why a lot of us stayed with urethane the first day.
So I used the pitch black, and then I used a afterburner.
Okay.
So that's what I used on Viper. So it wasn't like we had a lot of skid either. What about you, Chris?
I used a Booyah, a DCT, and then a 2-inch C4, which is our cleaner cover, low RG mid dip ball. So
yeah, but you're good. You have a good hand, so you can throw reactive.
Yeah, it obviously worked out really good. So I have urethane wrist, so I can make a lot of things look that shape.
Okay. What did you do with Bear? Was that another 5 games with urethane?
Well, actually, I started off that one with urethane. I didn't throw urethane once in practice, but we got on the pair, and we started on the high end. The oil machine just got done running about 3 seconds before it threw our first shot for some reason. And we kind of burned them up to the right with reactive, and it didn't look good once I moved inside of it a little bit. And so I just chose to throw urethane and shot 300, I believe, with the pitch fast or whatever. So, and what's crazy about that pattern was I was playing 18 with urethane by game 5, and then I finally got in the reactive after that. There was so much friction we bowled. I mean, it looked like someone took a knife and started scraping the front.
To be honest, I think there was everywhere. I think the difference for us was we had friction on the gutter as well.
Right.
Okay. Yeah.
We didn't. It wasn't like. Trust me. When we finished practice, I said to Chris, I don't think the scores are going to be that high. There's so much hook.
That's what I thought too.
And then Frankie said, "Hold my beer, son."
Yeah. Well, see, no one likes Frankie because he's really good when they're impossible. He's really good when they're really easy. So no one really likes him.
Well, they were neither here. I think we're going with Frankie's really good unless Chris Skillins comes out with his spray bottle, because that's the only time I've seen him look like break a sweat.
I'm just trying to figure out what Frankie did for 3 or 4 years. He took a break like I did, but like
basically had 18 months where he started trying to fix his swing, which of course is what you do when you've won the US Open.
Yeah.
Are you listening to Tommy Jones? Yeah.
Change weight.
Yeah, it's just change weight. I only won 2 titles in 2.5 years. Let me fix that so I don't do that for a while longer.
Okay, so what reactive balls did you end up changing to then?
I actually went to the Zen game 6 because You couldn't really go into really fast balls because they just picked up the front and they hooked 3 times. So I tried to get something to just like a strong symmetric ball that kind of mid lane slowed down and just kind of slower on the back. Even though I don't consider that ball a slower ball, the fronts, like I said, the fronts hooked so much and I had a little bit of surface on it that I was getting it to slow down pretty good.
Yeah, we couldn't use the Zens. They were too strong for us.
Well, I am 41 now. I'm getting the senior mode.
Kyle Sherman was the only person that I saw that could get the Zen to look good there because the balls, it was just too strong. So, yeah, on Bear, I started off with an Axiom. I had 250 the first game. I had the front 7. Barnes came down to watch one shot. Absolute train wreck for the next 5 or 8 frames. Just a disaster. So I was I changed from that. I tried a few different things. I ended up using a Hustle Inc. for a while off that when we started to move left.
That's the darker blue ball?
Yeah. Never really found anything that was that good. And then, of course, we moved back down to the low end again. And, oh, my God, it was like they'd ordered a different pattern. They were so tight. It was really bizarre. I mean, Chris had the same deal. When we went down that end. I mean, me and Kyle Sherman were, I think, 81 and 84 in the 6th when we made the change.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, making the flip, the first block, we made it in the middle when everybody shot 480, and I shot a really good 420 and got lapped right in through there, so that didn't work out too good.
He took it well, though.
Yeah.
I don't think you guys had cameras there, so I can't go back and watch that.
Oh, no, you can't go on beef and Barnzy. Barnes was filming like half his games when he wasn't on extra.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't film everything but the last night. The train that did officially derail, and so I did not take any time I needed every minute to try and figure out where the tracks were, let alone how to get on them. Bear, I didn't like them very much. I struggled out of the gate a little bit playing them straight. I mean, and like I said, there was the gutter hook, so it wasn't really hard, but I couldn't get it right, So I shot 2-0, but I moved in pretty quickly, and I was using a flux from 17, 18. And in my little area where 4 pairs each way, other than Dimitri Cruz, there wasn't anybody within 150 of the cut. So I didn't really get a good look at anybody else until I got all the way down to where those guys were. I had good look, but I couldn't really strike a lot. So the same scenario both the U.S. Open and Garland. And,
okay, yeah.
And so I was using angle and creating a fair amount of it for me, but in front of behind it, 9 pins all over the place, then flat 10s behind them, and then I caught one of the pairs at the end, shot 180, and kind of went right back to where I started. So
I kind of liked Bear better when it was just dead flat. I think it was like one of my last victories. I mean, I liked it because, I mean, obviously spare shooting was important, but it didn't take like one trick. You really had to do a lot of different tricks throughout like a 7 or 8 game block to get your ball to hit the 1-3. And this one here, that just seemed like they're trying to be a little bit of a puddle in the middle to push your ball, and I just don't like it as much. So I voiced my opinion to Sean Perry about that too. So
I liked all of these patterns much more when everybody couldn't use urethane for 5 games of block. It is what it is. So
the problem is it's overhooking. The urethane.
Well, yeah, I mean, really, I don't really like it with Stu. It doesn't really matter. The fact is, but if the goal is to actually have less urethane, this isn't it.
Right. Well,
it seems like now that it's almost a requirement now to throw it all the time instead of less. We're actually throwing it more. So
well, we're bowling on Don Carter 39 for these shows, and I would suspect that most are going to throw urethane. Now, how does that help our sponsors?
Yeah,
well, I mean, the thing is when they use Don Carter for the playoffs, which is another bit of a strange one to me. I don't know why we have to have the 2 biggest tournaments we bowled on the same pattern.
I don't know. Unless they made wrong notes. That's the email I got.
The TV show was for the playoffs was Don Carter. If I didn't even know that. Is that right? What you heard on, Chris? I'm pretty sure it was that 39 foot.
Right.
Yeah,
to be fair, though, in a different center, that pattern will play completely different.
No, I get it, but it's just like
a mess. But yeah, I mean, pulling stuff on the same distance. Well, I mean, effectively, all the patterns, because of the way the structure is, you up in the volume a little bit or not, didn't really change anything. And it's really proved on the left side where the guys in our region basically threw the same ball from basically the same place the whole time. Yeah. So there's not we're changing names, but we're not really changing a whole lot other than how much buff there is. So
well, we had the same thing in our region. I mean, Knowles and a few other left-handers, they threw the purple hammer the same spot for 3 patterns. And they got on Shark, and they had to switch to reactive, and that's kind of where they went south. And because they found the friction in the front of the lane even on their side a little bit. But we saw the exact same thing. I mean, they threw the same ball from the same spot on every pattern. So we were really thinking they were going to have 2 or 3 on the show.
What did you end up using on Chameleon? Did you use pitch black, fast pitch again?
I used the pitch black every game but one. I used the last game. I used the Zen the last game on that too.
Makes sense.
So yeah.
And then what did you end up doing with Shark?
I started with a parallax. I started on the high end of the building again, and I was just trying to trap like 17 to 12. And once we made the move to the other side of the building, it was a 10-board jump. I started the next game with the parallax again, and it kind of it froze up in the front and just laid there. Wouldn't really tip if I missed right, so I went back to the Zen. I used the Zen the rest of the day and bowled really good. So
okay, no, it makes sense.
I think I need to get a few more Zens.
Yeah, I mean, I used the for when I actually scored, I used the a shiny X1, changed to a shiny Idol, changed to a UC2 for one game, and then the last pair we went to, I moved 5. And bearing in mind, I was kind of throwing it at the 3-pin. I moved 5. I didn't miss right. I kept it like in the oil, and I thought it was money and it big forward. So I was like, we'll be changing again. So I used the last game on Shark.
One thing I see and you guys might see the same thing, but like on those type of patterns where you got to play the fallback late, like the last 3 or 4 games, you see a lot of the younger guys go to like fast bowling balls. And I think, to me, that's opposite. I want my ball to I want it to burn in the front, just lay there, and maybe barely tip if I miss it right. But I'm just trying to freeze that ball at the head pin. And I've seen a lot of the guys creating shape, and I think that's the reason why I caught them. Because I was 100 back. I shot 200 my first game, and I was 100 back. And then went to the other side of the building, and I shot 300 like game 3, maybe something like that. Can't remember. But I just kept trying to get my ball to burn up in the front.
Yeah, I mean, I like I say, I just think that I think a lot of guys see some of those patterns differently, and I think that in general, the high rev guys haven't done particularly well on the longer patterns in recent times.
The lower volumes are hurting that for sure.
Yeah.
There's been comments. Would somebody like Mika with his loft I think that would have matched up fairly well to the amount of friction that was in the front. Yes. I thought Dino had some runs, and I was actually a little surprised he didn't end up higher. I was not close to him, but that felt like he could throw stronger balls and loft them through the front and throw the balls that you're probably supposed to be throwing on some of these patterns and still have it have energy.
To be fair, Mika, when he was bowling really good, I would have taken him on any 28-game tournament, whether his loft was a good idea or not.
Yeah. I found your fan, Ronnie. Rob Peruchet says, "Hi, Ronnie, longtime fan. Can you talk about the mental grind of 2/3 of a regular short format?"
I was about to say, can we just sit back and let Chris go off on this one?
How exhausted were you guys after bowling the tourney?
Hi, Robert. Haven't seen you in a while. I mean, 28 games wasn't that hard. I mean, it wasn't hard at all. I mean, the hardest part is we haven't bowled a lot in the last 4 months. I mean, mentally, it was. I mean, I haven't bowled well in the last few years, but like, I don't know, just not having all of you guys in the same region or the same tournament, it helped you relax a little bit because you didn't have to worry about the Belmos. You didn't have to worry about, well, I did have to worry about EJ because he made a good charge. But like just all the guys who usually just make that late run and just run them over didn't have to worry about them this time because they weren't there. So that helps your mental. And I think that's what helped me get through it is just to know that there wasn't going to be too many guys chasing behind.
I also felt like that the scoring pace was maybe a little lower for some of the guys because there wasn't ball reps everywhere.
Yeah, and there was a few times I don't like to use ball reps too much, but there was a few times I could have used them, not just for my ball reaction, but just to tell me to get the hell out of my own mind and just go bowl.
Yeah, I mean, I think that probably wasn't a good thing for you because. I mean, let's be honest, the evidence is quite strong that, like, it hasn't been going that well and they weren't there.
Yeah, I know. I tried to FaceTime Sean Ryan about 11:30 at night, and he said his wife was going to get mad if he answered. But I just wanted to let him know that I can do it when he's not there. So he's just not that important to me. I'm kidding, buddy.
Sean is one of the few people who really wouldn't care. He'd be like, "Well, that's one more time to help."
Yeah. I can't wait till all the ball reps show up to Florida and they're gonna be like, "What are we gonna do here? What's our plan?" Well, I'm gonna bring a bag of urethane out and I'm gonna just throw it over my left toe and see what happens. I mean, that's pretty much the only plan we're gonna have.
Yeah. I did feel like the 28 games did feel like a lot. I mean, even coming from one, like obviously it was a long time ago, but the tour this was the first 2 days and you still had 16 games left to make the show before.
Right.
But because of what we prepare for now, it felt like a lot because it's a lot less than what we bowl.
Right.
And so it's all relative. How people practice, how people get ready for tour is different. I mean, there's a reason why when I came on tour, most guys' rev rates went down 30 to 50 RPMs so they could bowl the entire day. I mean, what you bowled on at the beginning was much slicker than what we bowl on now, and what we finished on was much drier than what we bowl on now. In the wrong places, though. Now it's dry, but it's always there's 20 feet of dry at the back end, so you're still hooking it off of. You're throwing it hard at it. There, it was hooking and then not hooking so much, and so that part's a little bit different. We were talking about urethane. There's a few questions in the chat. I lost them. Here's a message from Troy Kendrick. He wants to say hi.
I'm sure that's not the real message he wants to send.
He sent another one if you go back and look through it.
Yeah, okay. Verbal says, I mentioned using a 2-inch pin from PAP on Viper, which I know you used that layout in the past. In your opinion, why don't other players try and use this versus using urethane? I think if your rev rate's high enough, urethane covers up mistakes better. And you can use more axis rotation. It'll continue a little bit more. 2-inch pins, because you're laying that core down flat, they get kind of early, and their window of usability is a little bit shorter for the most part, unless you're going to use a lot of extra tricks to make it happen. And so I do like that. And in this case, I was actually using it from, playing 15 to 8 or so, which is not normally where I use a 2-inch pin, but with the friction we had, it actually looked pretty good. But yeah, that's why I used to use it basically to create that same shape that now everybody uses urethane to create that shape with.
For me, it's how long you can use it for.
Yeah.
Like, once the oil gets
wet,
the urethane's so much better.
Do you guys think it's the front of the lanes and getting older, the synthetics getting scratched up? Do you think it's the oil? Do you think it's the patterns? What is it that we just never feel like we have that free push to the front of the lane? I mean, I never see it anymore, hardly at all, unless I pull out a high road or something like that. Like, I never feel like my ball can easily get through the front of the lane on the fresh. And I'm not talking about down lane reaction. I'm talking about the front where my ball just gets through there.
I think a couple of things, and Stu brought it up over, I think it was last summer or the summer before, that basically where we're going. I mean, surfaces, there's not new surfaces down anywhere. House shots in general have a fair amount of oil in the middle, but they're not putting out massive volume. You know, Geggles told everybody,
Right.
if you put the ball slow down. And so far, you're not putting a lot of volume on the lane. So you have that where I think a lot of the surfaces are 5+ years old. And if you're in a place with high lineage, then it's going to get beat up. You have wood approaches. You're cutting the lanes back down. So you're actually going uphill the first 15 feet of the lane. If you're on an AMF surface with wood approaches, because they cut them, basically they overlay over the top of the wood, but it has to get flat with the approach. So it's not a lot, but over the first 15 feet, you're going up, you know, half an inch or so. So your ball is actually slowing down there too. And then every lane man has a philosophy. You know, we've had a few that put in, like John Force when I first went on tour. He made me a good bowler because he put in launch pads and he let me do what I was best at. And so then I got confidence. I felt like I could bowl because my ball always went through the front. And then I learned how to do some of the other stuff. And then when Nick Hoagland came out, he didn't believe in launch pads so much. He put speed bumps down the lane. And so by then, fortunately, I'd learned a little bit more of how to play around it. But I was certainly not as good when he was the lane man as I was when not. And I think Sean, I think he does a really good job, but his general theory is not putting a bunch of oil in the front of the lane. And so.
Certainly not putting a bunch of oil on the left side, that's for sure.
Well, there's not a lot over there.
Patrick says, in terms of 2-inch pinball, that'd be something Stu needs, blah, 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 blah. No. The problem is, right, is urethane covers up the issues for the guys who are really good, not great. And I don't mean not great as in that's a bad thing. I mean, not the top 5 or 8 guys. So the thing that causes me the most issue with urethane is there are like 15 guys or 20 guys who are way better at using that than I am. And that gets you so far into the tournament because you can use it for so many games, so many times.
Yeah.
There aren't many of those guys who are winning tournaments / any of them winning tournaments doing that.
On the right.
On the right, yeah, sorry. That was a given. I don't talk about left-handed bowling. It's pointless for me. But that's the issue. The only person who consistently wins with urethane on the right side is Belmo. I mean, even Simo, like Simo's really good at basically everything. Annoying little turd that he is at 24. I don't really see him have tournament success using urethane for the whole tournament. He always ends up going into a reactive ball when it comes to shove.
I think when you can change your exertion more, you don't use it for as long. But certain players are certainly having a nice, they're having a great run right now, being better at it than the guys around them.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. I think for the guys who are like 10 to 30, being able to use urethane makes a really big difference. There you go. Simo says, I use it, never more than 5 games. Yeah. And he says, and even that's a stretch. And that's what it is for most of the guys. Yeah. But the difference is you can compete with it against those other guys who are using it for the whole time.
Right on cue.
And if you go on Darren's YouTube channel, he's got a cool channel. If you give him a subscribe, he explains how he struggled on TV because he's become too reliant on urethane at those times.
And one of the things that happens on TV very consistently, there's more hook in the front and they're a little tighter down lane. And that makes that's the tight down lane part probably influences reactive or urethane usage or not usage as much as anything, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think the thing with urethane is that it can pick up in that 25-foot range. And I feel like that part of the lane often gets tighter on TV. So that's just how I see it anyway. I think that it checks and then it skids, whereas in the week it will check and then it'll roll in that section and then it'll be online. And that's how I see the urethane. And that's why I think that a lot of our patterns have quite a short initial oil, and then they have a lot of both.
Your wife, I need to have a virtual board that uses. I tested positive for hating urethane.
Yeah, that was for rap, I think.
Yeah, he talked a little bit about that.
Having that big buff on all the patterns, I think, creates a lot of help for the urethane balls.
For sure. I think when you have shorter buffs and some of those things, and I'm becoming more cemented the more I think about like Snowman, where there was so much oil at the end of the pattern and how much the patterns held up. Yes, there was carry down. Yes, the lanes changed a lot. But 14 hours later,
I was still playing 8.
Yeah. I mean, you could play 8, and I played on a pair where I was playing 23, throwing a ball slow and grabbing at it so it would hook.
You like that tournament, Ronnie? You should come down and bowl with Loesch.
Oof. That's Snowman tournament. That would let you use some of the skills. Mike called. I bowled junior leagues with Mike, and his brother.
So he's old too.
You what?
So he's old too.
Well, yes, that's not where I was going for, but yes, that's also true. He beat me in the Topeka top 10 to stop I didn't get a 3-year run of winning then. His brother's left-handed. He bowled in the Central. He was about 1,000 under. And he wants to know, he has a whole bunch of 300s and why he couldn't stop the hook in the front. What did he do wrong since he was on the left? I'll let you go, Ronnie. You were there. I have an opinion. I've watched Eric Fritton was his name. I don't know if you're near him or not. But he said it was amazing how the top pros could get it through the front so easily. He couldn't stop the hook in the front. He gets on it pretty good.
I mean, the hard part about what we bowled on is usually you see the front hook and then it's usually tight down lane is what we usually see on tour. But this time we had hook in the front and your ball still picked up down lane because of all the friction. And I think that's one of the reasons why EJ got off to a really slow start. Because I think you had to somewhat take your hand out of it a little bit and get the ball kind of twirling to the front and kind of get as forward as you can, even though you're trying to twirl it. But me personally, I do what the lane tells me to do, and so if I feel early friction in the front, I just try to twirl a little bit. And maybe that's why you think some of us get to the front so easy, is because we're making adjustments and they're small all the time. I think if you have a lot of rev rate in a building like that and your hand's all over the side of it, you're going to be forced into urethane 90% of the time. And I think that's maybe why he couldn't get the ball through the front if he had such a high rev rate.
Well, and having watched him, he's pretty steep and he bowls a lot of lead. So he throws it right into the lane and screws it into the front. And yes, there was way less oil in the front than what he's probably used to bowling on in league. So, and that's the one thing I think changes for a lot of guys when they come from the amateur setting to that, is that for me at least, a lot of amateur bowling is about managing the hook and a lot of professional bowling is about creating the hook. And you have to push it through and then have enough speed control. He throws it hard. He has a high rev rate, like a lot of guys on the left that are good. And that's the thing that I think changes the most on tour, is that it's way about a little bit softer speed, a little flatter swing planes, and making the ball hook at 40 feet after you get it through the front, which is that's a whole nother skill set than what you bowl on house patterns for sure.
Yeah, and I moved back on the approach by a foot and a half this week to try to get my flat spot a little longer this week, because usually I'm really steep into it, but I've been working on getting it not at all. But I've been working on getting it a little flatter. Well, as soon as I recognized all the early friction, I moved back quite a bit. It was kind of weird starting off, but I managed it pretty well, and it really does help you get to the ball through the front, is with obviously a flat spot like you guys have.
I think one other thing, Pat Healy spoke to me about this, and it's, of all the things that really good bowlers have told me, this is one of the simplest things that I'd never thought about in my life before, and it's really quite clever. He said, nothing positive has ever happened. If you hold your hand like this, nothing positive has ever happened, and nobody's ever won a tournament when their thumb's gone past 12 o'clock. He goes, Pete Weber gets
that's my problem.
more than anybody ever, and his hand goes like that. So his thumb stays, basically stops dead.
He works from in here and comes.
And his thumb stays almost straight up. And even EJ, his hand is here and it goes like that and his thumb goes straight up. So once you realize that when your thumb goes that way, only bad things are going to happen, and especially when there's friction in the front, that kind of makes life a little easier.
And a small change of pace here. Roy Rod Stu, congrats on the personal health. I'm going to have to start calling you Beef Stick.
All right, settle down.
Have you had to change your approach or arm swing because you're weight loss?
I mean, no. Not yet.
And to be fair, you carried most of it in front. So
yeah.
You were able, your swing was
always close to being able to bowl two-handed, though. I explained to Simo and Jesper why I couldn't bowl two-handed, because when I go sideways, I can't get my right arm past my stomach.
So you had a little Valenta issue there. So I saw him when he was in college. He was a different cat then.
See, my health thing is I want to get my belly bigger so my arm can't go this way, so I can just bounce it off and it just goes right.
Trust me, it doesn't work. I've tried it.
That's a long paragraph.
So Alan Riley, local guy, runs tournaments here. We talked about him the other day about it. He's also on a big weight loss journey, and it turns out his high score, his ceiling is his weight. So
the more he loses, the lower his scores.
Yeah. Because listen, this is a business. I would think it would be best for all parties to find a way to push the urethane to the point of being a nice piece to fill in, but not a main spot in the bag. And for the most part, that is the case, at least on the right side. Just thinking sponsors really have their mid to high end balls catch the eyes of the customers versus urethane. And thoughts? I mean, personally, off the top, I think what we bowl on will tell us what we have to throw. I mean, we're all trying to make a living, so we're going to throw whatever is best suited, and that shape, it makes it, when the lanes are hard, it hits the pocket the easiest. So, and so, unless lane pattern philosophy changes, that's going to be how people are going to keep attacking it. And so, you guys have thoughts?
I just feel like that the whole thing, I don't necessarily think that it influences hugely which ball we use, because there's so many balls coming out. I feel like more having the brand and like being associated with those brands is more of the thing that comes from TV now. I wish I could use that as an excuse for him to stop making the patterns so we could use urethane all the time. My point is, with all of these issues, whether it's formats, whether it's like multiple patterns, whether it's all of those things, urethane is, none of it is bad. Just let's not have it all the time. So like this weekend, for me personally, I do really well in the majors when we bowl on one pattern, because I bowl, I do what I do, I go back, I my brain calculates, well, this didn't work. Where are we going to find a solution for this? And then we go back out again and we find a new solution.
All right.
That now has been almost eradicated from the game. I don't really know why, because I don't know why we couldn't bowl on one pattern this weekend.
Yeah, versatility has become absolutely. Actually, it's been minimized, not maximized.
Yeah, and
the point is to maximize it with different patterns.
Yeah.
But all it's done is, if you have a different way to approach a game, you make your first or second guess, but you don't really get past much of that before you run out of games on kind of how to play them. And so when you go back, you don't keep getting better. You have to start over again. And the guys that only have one or two options are doing much better right now than guys that have more.
So that, for me, was the only, and I mean, it's a minuscule, but that was the only downside for me. I mean, not going to Wayne Webb's was a top 24 that I lost, because I feel like I couldn't miss the top 24 at Wayne Webb's.
Me too.
Yeah. I mean, stone balls, Wayne Webb, being able to hook it. In you go, son. In you go. So that was a bit of an issue for me. I just felt like I've been very vocal. I think the US Open is stupid with the multiple patterns. Don't like that at all. That's the World Series. So it would only be fair for me to as I criticize the USBC very vocally for that. It's only fair that I say the same about what we did with the players this time. Like, this is the World Series format. Like, I like the region thing. I think it was a really cool concept.
I do, actually.
I didn't personally think we needed to have 4 patterns. I feel like we could have the Players' Championship pattern. But
I think
money makes everything better. We could bowl 4-frame games if we bowl for this much money all the time, and we wouldn't mind.
I think it takes away the experience and the art form that everybody's gained over the years. Say Chris and you and I. We learned so much over the years of what to do in certain situations, and we put that in the memory bank and there are notes. And I think bowling on the multiple patterns and over the 3 or 4 days, I think it kind of takes that away from it. And so if we do get off to a slow start, we've been here before and we understand what we want to see and what we want to do. And I think it's kind of taken that away a little bit.
Yeah, definitely.
What, if any, levers does the Players Committee have in negotiating lane patterns?
I personally don't think I don't think we should. Yeah,
the inmates don't need to run the asylum because the fact is like all these different opinions. If I was Frankie, 4 patterns is fantastic.
Well,
everybody wants it. I want them hard. Well, no, I want them hard for you, not for me. That is ultimately what everybody means when they say, "Oh, I want them." When I want them different, I want them different for everybody else in a way that benefits me.
100%.
That's why the players can't be involved in the lane patterns. We have opinions, but they don't hold any water. Because
I just feel like we need to have variety as the spice of life. And that goes with everything. Like, I wish we had 1 bracket tournament a year.
Yeah.
Well, we do. Oh, you mean just bracket. Just bracket.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just have a rankings tournament at the end of the year. That would be a different version of a really cool tournament at the end of the year, a Players' Championship, that your season-ending points put you in a bracket, and 64 takes on Belmo, and
or you could do buys or whatever.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is
yeah,
when that was the format every week, that sucked. But doing it once a year is cool. It's like the Masters format. The Masters format, if that was all you ever bowled, would be a disaster. Like,
I disagree on that. I think if you bowl any format long enough, even short ones that I'm personally not a fan of, things tend to even out and it works out. It's the one-offs that make it hard, especially if there's a bunch of money in one of them and it's a one-off format.
Yeah, okay, but all I really meant is I think that all of those formats favor a different style.
Sure.
skill sets. That's what I really mean. Like, I don't think that the round robin is bad or good. I just don't think we need to do it every single tournament. Like, I liked it when we had some tournaments where we just bowled the games and we counted the pins. That was cool. Like, some tournaments that were best of 7. That's cool too. I just don't necessarily think it has to be everything. There we go.
You know, it's so much fun running over a tournament and then looking up on the board. Oh, I have Norm Duke or Chris Barnes first match. Awesome. So I'm going to have an 8-bagger thrown at me every game.
Or
he's going to move 2 boards. I'm going to move 20. Awesome.
Oh, my God. I've got Chris Barnes. He can't bowl as bad as he did yesterday. Oh, he's just going to stop me from being able to bowl a 200. Cool.
Yeah, I did kind of stew scam. I threw Urethane and Shawnee in a pattern that had no business having Urethane bowled.
If I'd have had my own lane, I could have bowled 9 frame games and beat Chris.
That's probably a fact. You did the day before. It was literally like when we used to bowl the best of 7s, and I'm like, well, I don't know what I'm going to do, but he's not going to do what he did yesterday. I know that, and I kind of knew that going in. Yeah,
there aren't really a plethora of things you can do when you're shimming it up 10 on 45 feet.
Right.
There isn't really like, there's so many places you can go now.
Yeah.
Now I keep seeing Rob Pearshot pop in there. You're missing your window of excellence on the PBA Tour. You lofted over the front a little bit. You got a little spin biscuit roll. What are you doing? You should be out here.
No, he's running the second best bowling podcast.
Speaking of the good and the great,
that was a good
Derek
bowler.
Came up on a topic of us of best guys to not bowl on tour, and
okay, I've got this one.
There you go. He was thinking that the 7-game blocks on different patterns would hurt Belmo. It's 4 sprints versus a marathon that they bowl in the same pattern for 28 games. I think Belmo easily leads the West. I think is where he's going. Yeah.
Sorry, Derek. No. And let's just look at the fact that the one tournament that plays 4 different patterns, Belmo's currently on a 3-bagger. Belmo's won the World Championships the last 3 years in that exact same format. So I think he just had a shit day or 2.
I do agree, though, if you gave him enough swings at it, which he does at the U.S. Open a lot, once they get down, well, and I guess now they bowl on, and then we bowl on a different pattern in that one, too, every day.
We won that one, too.
Yeah. He does eventually run it down. Generally speaking, either way, whether you bowl in the same one or you get him enough swings, he'll find a way to hit one of those patterns pretty hard.
I just think that's a way of looking at it. But at the same time, like the other guy who's really good in that format is EJ Tackett. He's led the World Championships multiple times.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think it's they throw so many good shots that they throw so many good shots. Like the guys are bowling good in that. There's so many good shots. I don't care what the pattern is. You're not going to hold them down forever. There's just way too many good shots. Just a second.
Are we being nice to guests who not guests, people who comment, or can we? Yeah.
Well, I mean, we're certainly an interactive show, so I would like to see. It says since I would like to see more versatility in the game. When the 6-ball max do it. Not when there's 48 different boards between your straightest ball and most hooking ball, and the patterns do not always play the same as they do in practice. I mean, basically that's what the World Tour becomes because everybody flies there. You have your 6 balls and you make it go. I think it's okay, but like in the U.S. Open when they do it and they don't tell you the patterns, that's a little bit unfair. And
you're being nice.
Something like this, if we standardize some of the technology at the pro level.
I mean, I feel like doing this 6-ball thing would be an even huger advantage to the lefties, but that's just me.
That's a fact because they only use 2 balls anyway most of the time.
So Vince Biondo so you're saying spin biscuit is a good thing regardless of hair color? That's because I refer to his son Brandon as the Big Biscuit.
Yeah.
Well, Roger.
I'm surprised the Ultimate Spin Biscuit didn't bowl this week.
Who's that?
I'm sorry, I'm delayed.
The Ultimate Spin Biscuit. Who was that? Okay.
Did you freeze? Can you hear us, Ronnie?
Yeah, I'm delayed. Yeah, I'm delayed or something.
Why does the PBA Why doesn't the PBA partner with Caesars and provide live betting odds? I mean, Roger. I mean, why wouldn't they? I mean, there's just millions and millions and millions and millions of people watching around the world who want to bet on bowling. I mean, I can't believe Caesars haven't reached out. Oh yeah, we're not the NFL. Sorry, Roger. I mean, I am being unnecessarily a dick, but I think the PBA.
Yeah, these are old questions. Why are we not FS1 and F? Sure, they're dying to come in and televise all our events.
Yeah.
I mean, Flow Sports didn't even try and do it this time, so I have no idea why. But 3 pairs in a building with 18 pairs going isn't really covering an event.
Adam says, do you feel different centers give certain others an advantage? Well, I don't know, but let's think about it like this. 2 lefties made the top 3 this week. In the center that a lefty led the tournament by 500. So I'm not saying it's a duck, but if it quacks like a duck and it walks like a duck, it's probably a fucking duck.
Danny Jackson wants to know, did Smallwood kiss Ronnie back? So,
well, he wanted it, but I had my left hand on his A cup pretty firmly, so I wouldn't let him move.
These are the serious, hard-hitting questions everybody comes for. So,
okay, well, we've managed to get through an hour. We've got 200 of you beautiful people still watching, which I think is close to a record that didn't involve Norm Duke. So, congrats, Ronnie.
We didn't even get all dirty about this.
This is like the second most people ever showed up to listen to you, say or sing anything besides right behind
Here
Junior.
it comes. Here it comes.
There's a tear in my beer, crying for you, dear.
Yeah, my son listens to that rap stuff, and I just can't do it. That's why we put him in a room over a garage. Can't hear that shit.
Two real quick questions. Rob Piriched, why didn't the PBA repair based on positions going in the last 7? Because we're currently in a stage where, and I don't know whether this is right or wrong, but Kirk decided that hitting the pairs equal amount of times was more important than who you bowled with. And I don't necessarily agree with that, but that was, you've got to understand that for everyone who thinks like me, that who you cross with is more important, there's another group over there who are way more think it's, well, I hit that pair twice already. That's not fair. So there isn't really a way around that. You either believe that the lanes are more important or who you're bowling with is more important. And there isn't really a right or wrong answer because there's just as many people crying for both scenarios.
We probably could have repaired after 14, after day 1.
Yeah, we probably could have done.
At least in our region, you would have hit all the patterns or almost all the pairs. Mm-hmm. Not patterns, all the pairs. And then we could have ended, luck of the draw in its random format, but, whether it had anything to do with it or not, the guys I was following were not doing as well as, say, you were on the farthest right of the guys, of the group that all pretty much, I think 12 out of 15 or 16 were all in those pairs, and you were preceding that whole group. And so, you guys basically had one big day to make it up, and those guys chasing you had a pretty good run.
For people watching at home on Flow, though, it makes sense. That's assuming that they're on one of the 3 pairs that Flow was covering. Because if they're not, then they can't watch anybody who's bowling any good. So that's another issue. My wife says we need a song.
There we go. Come on, Ronnie. You gotta take us out.
Well, oh hell, come on, Tina, get out of here. I can't even hear what Stu's saying. Thank God. Tell Tina I'll call her on FaceTime tonight, and we'll have a little concert ourselves.
Well, she's in lockdown, so she'll appreciate it. Are you going to post standards for fantasy bowling? No, I'm not, because we got 904 entries. That's right, you heard it, 904 entries. So right now, only one person got all of the bonus. Only one person picked all 5 people. So congrats to him. I think at the count, we had 87 people who picked the 4 winners. So they got the 100-point bonus. And I didn't look to see if anybody got all 10 players through, but I would doubt it because it's very difficult.
And so many people would have had Belmo, I assume.
Well, actually,
Belmo, EJ, Prather, you had a lot of guys that got eliminated there.
I know for a fact that the person who picked all 5 right didn't pick, had at least a couple that didn't make it. So there you go.
Everybody's got a chance.
So it's still all up.
Barnzy, I can't hear Stu, by the way. So.
Oh, you can't hear Stu?
No, it sounds like Darth Vader.
Huh.
Okay, never mind.
Well, yeah. So, Alan Riley was pretty impressed with Flo. He said those cameras are super, super expensive. He is an IT guy. They're like $80 each. So, and Rushad wants to know if you can throw out some 2-pack for us.
Yeah. I mean, his whole Dark Eyes was it? I know Eyes on Me. I was thinking Dark Eyes vodka, college days. Eyes on Me. See, we knew all of us knew it all back then. I'm not singing though. Sorry, I only know the really racial insensitive songs on there.
Another good point. Bowl TV can cover 2 pairs of one camera. Somehow this weekend we couldn't.
I believe they did.
They weren't on the high end.
Okay.
They were showing 48, 49, 50, and 51, with 51 being a dead pair. Or 50 a dead lane.
Okay.
So, and that's how they were trained to do. So, but if Ronnie won't sing, by the way, he did sing at the American Airlines Center. He has done a big time performance for Junior Gold and the 4,000 people and parents and all their S there. All kidding aside, he is the best singer since Randy Peterson. I'm
not sure if that's something I should be proud of or not.
I think he may have superseded him. I've heard Randy's CD and honestly, I enjoyed yours much more than that. So,
okay. Let's send it home, Chris.
We'll do it. Once again, appreciate all you guys. If you get a chance, go over to YouTube and subscribe to our channel there as well. And as usual, these sponsors help us. And if you would and have a choice, please support our sponsors: Storm, Rotogrip, 900 Global, Vice Turbo, Cool Whip, 3G Shoes, Dexter, Master, Bowler's Mart, and Mark Baker Bowling. Support those small centers, help get them through this tough time, and these small businesses. Hopefully we're closer to the light at the end of the tunnel. So until next Thursday, thanks, Ronnie Russell, for joining us.
Thanks, guys.
Remember, R2 Sports. Get your gear at his and his Instagram page, whatever that might be. And until next time, stay safe, stay healthy. God bless.